All right, all right. Welcome back to the Hawk Vision Podcast. I'm your host, Chuck Hawkins, here to help you shorten the learning curve on your way to greatness. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe across all of your social media platforms, especially here at YouTube. More importantly, share this podcast with other visionaries just like you. Before we get started, take a look at the show notes. You'll see a link to one of my favorite things. You know I love me some coffee. You can support the show by buying your boy a coffee or two. And if you are a subscriber, you'll get some important or interesting, I guess I will say, behind the scenes information and videos. Our guest this week is someone that absolutely stormed onto my radar. Absolute powerhouse. And now I can see why. She's a powerhouse CEO that helps high performing women maximize their potential and unlock their personal power at work and beyond. She is someone that's been trusted to partner with companies like Mercedes-Benz, Comcast, Yum Brands, which owns some of your favorite fast food franchises. Ladies and gentlemen, this visionary has thousands of faithful, engaged followers across her social media platforms, teaching them how to polish their executive presence, and also offers executive coaching. She knows what it takes to thrive in the corporate sector and be the definition of a boss as an entrepreneur. She is a speaker, a leader, a coach, and a mentor, Miss Kailee Carr. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chuck. I just need to keep you in my back pocket. I thought that was a great, intro. If I'm feeling down on myself, then I just need to keep playing that.
I got you. I'm a fan of edification. I believe that we don't do a good enough job in this community of celebrating the accomplishments when we introduce people to each other's community. So I will always do that. And you've earned every one of them. So it ain't like I'm just
thank
talking.
You.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I usually, I'm a big Marvel fan. I usually start off with the origin story. What on earth made you want to become an entrepreneur? But I'm going to change it for today. My first question for you, what does it look like for today's corporate woman to be both authentic and successful?
What does it look like for today's corporate woman to be authentic and successful? What that looks like, I believe, is for her to be okay with taking off the cape and taking off the mask. So a lot of the women I work with are women of color. And they're used to being the boss at home, at work, yes, making things happen, doing all the things. And she usually is used to coming to work with a facade. So wearing that mask, which also creates some guardedness. It creates some distance, but it also helps her feel like, okay, I am here. I am my best self. Yes. So what it takes to really be authentic and successful is to be okay with not having all the answers, to be okay with connecting with your colleagues, with her coworkers, to show her vulnerability, because again, especially as women of color and even more specifically, Black American women, when we get to that, because of our history and cultural conditioning, sometimes we don't feel safe to be ourselves in the office. Right. However, some of the most successful, amazing boss women leaders I know are those who are able to navigate that beautifully and be able to show up deeply rooted in her full authenticity and shine at work in a way that inspires others.
That is a beautiful answer, and I love it. And the reason that I wanted to start with that question is because I think we're all seeing this in a time where, we're starting to go back to work outside of COVID. Entrepreneurs have decided to automate everything, right? To the point where you remove the person out of the business almost. And I was just on a live talking about that. But the reason that I wanted to start with that question is because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are balancing that 9 to 5 with their baby that they're trying to launch. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that you mentioned removing the cape, right? Because the cape at work, I feel like if you don't remove that, and maybe you can speak to this, but if you don't remove that, it ends up hurting your business, because the cape at work, everything at work, how to do that. But when it comes to your business, there's a lot of stuff you just ain't gonna know.
Right.
right? So how do you take the cape off and still grow effectively while you're chasing this dream?
Yes, I think, taking the cape off in your business is so important because, like you said, you're not going to know everything. And oh, by the way, being an entrepreneur is going to uncover any unresolved stuff that you have.
Yes.
Okay. Like
Lord,
that will be
listen.
revealed. That will be revealed. So being self-aware enough to know that you are not going to have all of the answers,
Yeah.
and also being wise enough to know that you need people and resources and um, other minds to help in the journey is it's imperative. It is imperative.
I love it. So
And you can
let's
try to wear that cape if you want to in your
listen.
your business, but yeah, good luck.
I got kids. I remember that movie, The Incredibles, where the little Edna Krabappel lady was like, "No capes. Everybody that wears a capes dies."
Right,
So let's go
right.
backwards. What inspired you to launch this phenomenal business that you have as a speaker, a leader, a facilitator, and a coach? What got you started in this space?
Yes, I have to take you back to 2013,
Okay.
which at the time I was leading a marketing department for a tech company. I was planning my wedding with my now husband. I
My new
was
best
also,
friend.
yes, who loves him some Nespresso too. And I was also taking care of my mom, who at the time was battling stage 4 esophageal cancer. And I was working in a job where I had climbed that corporate ladder. I was doing well. I
Yeah.
had great relationships internally. They were so helpful and supportive to me as I was taking care of my mom. It allowed me to work from home for a year and a half and all of those things. At the same time, my heart and soul were not in that job. I love my team, but
Yeah.
the work, I mean, and looking back now, it's almost laughable that I was doing that, because what I'm doing now is clearly what I'm here on this planet to do.
Right.
And that was not, but all I knew was that I was over it. I was over it because of what was happening in my life. So my company asked me to relocate to their headquarters. I was living in Chicago. Their headquarters was in Philadelphia. And they said, if you don't want to move, because we know what's going on with your mom, we'll wait or they said, we know what's going on with your mom. If you want to wait, we will wait until she gets better. Now, if you don't want to move, that's a different conversation. And I was like, yeah, let's have that conversation.
I love
So
it.
fast forward, I knew in my spirit, I knew I had to go. I had
Yeah.
zero idea of what was next. My last day working there was Friday, August 2nd. The next business day on Monday, August 5th, my mom passed away.
Oh my
2 days
God.
later, my husband actually left his job too. By that time, we were married, and he was already planning on starting his own practice and had
Okay.
prepared for that. Although, for me, I didn't know what I was going to do. The silver lining was that I didn't have to work at a job that my heart wasn't in
Yeah.
while I was grieving such a huge loss. And I really did take the time to explore what was it that I was supposed to do in this next chapter. And it would have made sense. I had a, high ticket MBA. I had,
Right.
climbed that corporate ladder. It made sense for me to get another 6-figure job.
Right.
But nothing inside of me said that. Everything in my spirit said no. And that this next phase was to be supportive to others, was to pour into others, was to serve others, and to use my experiences to help others. And as I went through that process, which is now a process I use with many of my clients, I
Love
realized
it.
there's so many things that help and hinder, especially people of color and women, in
Yes.
advancing in their careers, that are not talked about in performance reviews. They're not talked about in the classroom. And I was blessed in that I either had the right people around me or had the right sensibility to navigate that well. Yeah. So I started my practice in 2014, originally doing image consulting, personal branding, and digital presence work. And that continued to expand over the years. And I'm just so thankful to be on this journey. And I'm still on this journey. I'm still learning and growing. And it's been a fun ride.
I love that answer. The reason that I asked it is because, again, I don't know if Amber told you, and we'll talk about the whole, how you stormed onto my radar soon, but I have a background in corporate HR and recruitment. And so I've watched people and I've helped people navigate that space, right? But I'm an advocate of chasing your dreams. So if you're not, fulfilled in this job, maybe it's time to start making an exit plan. But I think it's harder for women, especially women of color, to make that decision because often they're the head of household. Often they are the breadwinner, the mom, the all being everything God of the house. So when you made that decision, do you remember the seminal moment in your journey as an entrepreneur where you said, okay, this is where I belong?
After I made that decision?
Yes.
Or yes. So, that's a really difficult question because on one hand, I don't know if there was, I did make that decision, right? Like, right. When I first left, I had these little God moments, as I call them, opportunities to do some things that gave me a taste of what I was good at. So I had a speaking engagement that had me co-host this event with Lovey Ajayi Jones. Oh, wow. And, I had never done anything like that before. I'd been doing some corporate speaking, but nothing like that. And it was so much fun. And it was almost like God saying, this is your jam. This is your jam. So I had those breadcrumbs here and there, but it took me several months after leaving my job and putting the stake in the ground to say, okay, it's time. And in reflecting back, Chuck, I think it was sometime in the spring of 2014, after my husband and I came back from our honeymoon. We didn't go on our honeymoon until February. We got married in June and had our honeymoon in February. Okay. And after that, and also I went through some grief therapy because I needed it. Absolutely. And I think once I went through that healing, and it's funny, I never even made this connection until this moment. See, you're good, Chuck. You are good. Once I went through the healing process and had some space, some time away, and some space in my brain to really reflect and receive, because receiving is a lot of it too. I got the download. I got the vision. And it was like, okay, now it's time. And I knew it. I wasn't sure what it would look like. I wasn't sure all of the hows, but I at least knew what the what was, and I was ready to go.
Yeah, that's strong. And I think it's important for me to ask that question because, we're lucky enough to have listeners in, I think, 30 countries now. And, but it never ceases to amaze me that people are always looking for a tangible way to know that they're doing the right thing. And if we're being honest, I don't think that there is one seminal moment. Sometimes it's the right check, right? Sometimes you get that first good check as an entrepreneur. I ain't gonna lie, I love me some money. Sometimes it's that first good check, but other times it's just putting you use the perfect word, those breadcrumbs to let you know that you were on the right track. What does the perfect client look like for you?
I would say the perfect, and I have organizations that I work with, and I have individuals that I work with. So I would say from an individual perspective, my ideal client is someone who is brilliant and has checked all the boxes and is realizing they're searching for more meaning. They've been likely used to following a linear path and doing the things that they should be doing but there's something tugging them to something greater than them, something bigger than them, something that only they can do, but it's uncomfortable for them because there's no manual for it. There's no linear path. And so this is not me. Some of I have some clients who have called me different things, including some of my favorites are destiny doula, purpose prophet. There's another one. It's escaping me, but I do think a part of what I do really well is really be a channel for people to see. I have the ability to see them at their best before they can.
Yeah.
And I'm also, one of my greatest strengths is my intuition. So I'm able to open myself up to let God speak through me so that I can reflect to them the God that's within them. So I know that was a long answer, but
no, it's perfect. No. It's perfect. What about for organizations? Because I think that in this diversity era, in this women's championship era, a lot of companies of various sizes are looking for people that can come in and honestly, genuinely help. Because I think it's one thing to have, a speech or a presentation and then everybody claps, shakes hands, kiss babies and leaves. But it's another to have actionable items when that person gets off the stage. It's another thing to have them be engaged. What does the perfect organization look like for you to be willing to partner with?
Yes, the perfect organization for me to partner with are those organizations who are really, truly about their people and helping their people develop into the best people they can be. I believe that the best leaders are the best people first. So a lot of the work that I do is really, you could almost even think about it as personal leadership development. So I'm helping their leaders tap into their best and really plug into their personal power and demonstrate that out, shine that out to the world. So the best organizations are those who do value that, who really truly embrace a belonging culture and an inclusive culture and see their talent, that especially talent that may be in an underrepresented group or groups, that they want to give them what they need so that they can thrive in their organization. So I do everything from, those one-time workshops, but I love doing longer term programs. So I'm doing several, even globally right now, I'm doing leadership, highly curated, customized leadership programs for leaders at different organizations around the world.
I love it. I love having, and I think that's the reason that we have this space, is because I like having the chance to speak with thought leaders like yourself, because not only am I learning, but we're also able to introduce absolute rock stars that people would not hear of, because we have this celebrate the authority or the celebrity culture, right? Where I'm a fan of Rick Ross. I love Rick Ross. Everybody that's watched this show will tell you that in my spare time, I have a belly, a beard, and someone massaging my head, right? But I can't reach out to Rick Ross all the time and get him to expand on the nuggets that he drops, right? And we have people such as yourselves that is in the room helping these corporations. And so I think it's important to be able to introduce, and not that, I have the biggest megaphone in the world, but to be able to introduce people that people can still touch, right? We can still reach out, people to still answer, messages and DMs. And I am so impressed with the production that you've had and the ability to grow your business the way that you've had in such a short amount of time. Because if we're being honest, 8-9 years is not a lot of time for an entrepreneur, right? It's still a baby business in the eyes of, several many people, which leads me to my next question. It's a two-part question. What is this chapter of your entrepreneurship journey called? And second part is, Who's producing the soundtrack?
Ooh. Wow. I don't know I'm going to the second one first. I'm like, who can produce the soundtrack?
Right.
It's like, I know who I would want featured on the soundtrack, but I don't know who's producing it.
I'm seeing a baby face in your head.
Yeah, I could see it, but haven't heard from him in a while. But we could do that. We could do that. We'll come back to that one. So the chapter I think is this is funny. You know what popped in my head?
What?
At first I was going to say level up, and then I heard put on your big girl panties.
Uh-oh. That's a whole different conversation. Hold on. We gotta do disclosures
in the most
for that
G-rated, the most G-rated way possible. And let me explain. I think that this chapter in my journey is about really embodying and really being a CEO, which I have been by title, but I have been doing a lot of the work myself, and I have been comfortable, a little bit too comfortable wearing the cape. And it is clear to me that in this next chapter, especially, I have some people on my team, and, I've been slowly doing that, but I know that there are so many things that are going to require a lot of my time and energy, especially starting next year, that I won't be able to be in the business and doing the business and doing the work. Yeah. So right now I am doing a lot of creating infrastructure, bringing in people who can help manage things. I am developing a team of collaborators who will be able to be a part of the business and do coaching and facilitation and workshops and be on my faculty for programs. And I've leveraged some people here and there for different projects, but really formalizing those agreements to help the company still thrive as I'm doing some more projects that are not necessarily within that core part of the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. I think a lot of people forget the title CEO because they want the title, but they don't necessarily understand all of the work that goes, like, you have to earn that title. It's cute to have, but you got to learn to delegate. You have to learn to trust. You have to learn how to work on the business instead of just in it. Like, it is a whole different thing. But you're not getting away from this producer question. Who's producing the soundtrack?
Pharrell.
Okay. So you got a little R&B, a little excitement, and a little bit of thug in there. Okay.
Yes.
I love it. Question for you. And I don't think I've ever asked anyone on my show this question, but because it seems like a lot of my recent guests, I had Dr. Monica Cox on, we've had Amber Wright on. A lot of the guests lately have been steered towards this borderline HR/entrepreneur/corporate, which I think is should have a bigger voice, right? Because we're all trying to balance something. But what can Black men in corporate America do to help Black women have a easier go of it as they climb the corporate ladder?
That's such a great question. That is such a great question. I think that what Black men can do is to be better champions and allies for us, because we have, Black women, we are a double minority. Yeah. And we are getting, we're getting the bias on both ends, right?
Absolutely.
And for my sisters in the LGBTQ plus, community, they have it even harder, Right. So I think what Black men can do is to be greater champions for us in the places and spaces where they're in the room and we are not. and be advocates for our behalf, to champion us, to be sponsors for us when they have access before we do. And also to realize that we are all in this together. There is no competition.
Yeah.
It is not, if you get it, we can't, or vice versa.
Right.
It's let's lift each other up as we all climb.
Yeah, that's epic. I think it's hard for me to ask that question and not look back over my own career, because I mean, the easy part for me was I was a recruiter, and I sat in, these project development spaces and built out frameworks. So it was easy for me to advocate for people, but knowing that there's only one job available in various departments, knowing that there's only so many promotions that you're going to get, because you get to this point in corporate where you kind of age out of the promotion space. And granted, that's absolutely wrong, but it's a fact of, the HR life, is you age out of this promotion, power grab, money grab space. And so I would always take it upon myself to make sure that people understood what phase of the career that they were in. Right. And so let's, if you've been a manager, but now you want to be a director, you have to have three people in your life, in my opinion, as a corporate climber. You have to have a recruiter that knows you. You have to have a manager that loves you, and a director that signs off on you. So that way your name will always be floating around in that space. But the hidden piece that I think most of us miss is we have to have a mentor that has nothing to do with our industry, nothing to do with our corporate 9-to-5 job. When did mentorship and or coaching become something that you embraced and then decided you would offer?
Embraced and decided I would offer.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So embracing mentorship, I think that I was really lucky in that both of my parents were in corporate America.
Yeah.
And I saw them navigating, figuring it out. My mom was in HR. I went into HR in the beginning of my career. That's where I started my career. It wasn't that I aspired to be like her, but I fell into it and it made sense and I enjoyed it. So I found mentorship, although I wouldn't have called it that, through my parents, through them just observing their behavior. Right. I was also really lucky in that in my first 2 jobs out of school, I had some managers who were excellent mentors, who saw a lot in me and helped me. Actually, the first 3 jobs, now that I think about it, I have mentors that, 2 of whom, and unfortunately 1 passed away, but the other 2 I still keep in contact with to this day. And I think in just about every role I've had, there's been someone who I've been able to lean on and who has been a great advocate and someone who's been invested in my growth and development. So I'm a really big proponent for having mentors, and both, people who are above you, people who are peer mentors. That's something that I really value, especially right now. Now, in terms of offering coaching as a part of my offerings, I shied away from even being considered a coach because I feel like everybody's trying to call themselves a coach these days.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I felt like, no, people get certified for that. There is an industry for that. And I don't want to cheapen the industry by calling myself a coach when I have not been through that certification. Now, as I got into it, I realized people were coming to me for coaching. They were asking me for coaching, and that they wanted my advice. They wanted my counsel. They wanted my expertise. And no one ever asked me, "Are you certified to be a coach?"
I love it.
So over time, I built that into my practice and with my program. So I have, several programs that I offer or that I do through other organizations where we will bring in certified coaches to provide that specific type of coaching to the people in our cohorts and our clients.
Yeah, no, that's strong. I tell my daughters now that, all, as I am an education advocate, but I put my personal growth up against your degree any day because I know what hustle
Hey,
and people skills can
amen.
do, right? And so
That's
I
right.
think that it's important to, if people are coming to you for a service, that justifies you being able to charge for a service.
Yeah.
But I caution everybody, don't raise your prices without raising the value of what you're offering.
Ooh,
And
talk
so,
about it.
and so that's my thing. In the interest of time, I got a few questions for you that we absolutely must touch. One
Okay.
being social proof. So when you got on my radar, one person said, Chuck, I love this person. You should have Kailee on your show. I've been a fan instantly, yada, yada, yada. And then I retweet that and I say, okay, noted. She's on the radar, right? And not that I'm, what's my favorite word? I'm borderline arrogant, but very, very confident, right? So I know I'm not the man, but I'm the man. So anyway, I retweeted it though, and I said, you know what, absolutely noted. Meaning I'll add it to the list. I'll start my research. I'll do all those things. Then I got like 2 or 3 people to jump in my DMs, and they're like, no, Chuck, you gotta have Kailee on the show. And then I jump on my friend's IG live, Amber Wright, who's been a guest of the show several times, and I see Kailee Carr jump up. And I'm like, oh, say less. Because if Amber signs off, if Amber signs off, I know it's good. How does it feel to know that you've done the work so that your name is in rooms that you have no idea are even out there?
Mm. I don't even know how to answer that question, Chuck. I mean, other than I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I am grateful. I do feel like the work that I'm doing and who I do my best to be in this world is part of my life's work and why I'm here. Purpose is very important to me, and I feel so privileged to be able to do work in the world that's in alignment with who I am. And when I meet good people, and I want to pour into them because I don't know how not to. And so, Amber is a great example. When I first met her, we met at a conference. I was emceeing, she was attending, and she just came up to me afterwards and said, sis, I appreciate how you are showing up and what you are bringing. And there was something in her that I felt like, okay, it's meant for us to continue this conversation. And, she considers me a mentor. I consider her a peer mentor. Like, I just love her spirit. So it feels really good when people who I know are good people are saying good things and vouching for me to others. It really does.
You made REST an acronym for reset your energy source and thrive. How did that come to you? What does it look like?
It came to me because through a meditation. I do meditating every morning.
Okay.
And sometimes spirit be talking to me. I be knowing things. That's what I tell my husband. I'm like, oh, I'm looking for my keys. I'm like, oh, go look over there. And he's like, how did you know that? I be knowing things. So
that's so scary.
And the crazy thing is that rest one, I couldn't even tell you what I said it was.
Wow.
I could I posted it on social media because it did come to me. It came through me.
Yeah.
So that happens often. And I think that happens when one is in alignment again with when they're in flow, when they're aligned with their purpose and they open themselves up to be used, that happens. So, but what rest looks like for me is to take a breath, to tap into the moments and savor the moments that matter most with the people who matter most.
I love it. We got about 10 minutes left of the great one, Kailee Carr. So I'm going to start firing off these questions.
Okay, bring it on.
But I don't want you to shortchange any of these answers because I think that we are really, really helping some people that are going to listen to this. I mean, 30 countries, we got all the states covered, and somewhere there's somebody listening to this or that will listen to this and be like, oh, that's the one. So my next question for you, as a wife and an entrepreneur, What have you learned in your marriage that you can implement in your business and vice versa?
Ooh, that's a good one. Communication is key.
Okay.
Communication is key.
And what about from the business that you implement in your marriage?
Be intentional.
Ooh, I like that one. What are 3 non-negotiables that you have around time management or structuring your day at least so that you get to optimize the time available?
3 non-negotiables. One, I have to have time in the morning to do my morning routine.
Okay.
2, my husband and I share drop-off pickup. We have a 5-year-old, so we manage around that.
Yep.
And 3, this is not on a daily basis,
okay,
but I have been becoming more mindful of if I don't have to be on a Zoom, if it can be a call and I can be outside and go on a walk during a call. If I don't have to take notes or don't have to be on camera, then I'm taking advantage of that more often these days.
I love it. I often think that automation is a gift and a curse because we run entire businesses without ever really having to interact with people if we can master our messaging. But I'm a fan of people skills. What are some of the things that you've done or books that you've read to help master your networking and or your people skills?
See, I was raised by a master networker. Someone who, my mom even taught workshops on the art of networking.
Wow.
So I don't know if I've ever read a book on networking.
Okay.
Because I learned by
example. You grew up with the cheat code. Yeah.
For real. 400 holiday cards that she would send out globally every year. One, I'm going to share this tip that I haven't adopted yet, but I want to figure out what could be mine. But what my mom would do, one of the things that she did to build relationships, people in her network, she would find out their birthdays and she would send them physical birthday cards on their birthdays. I'm talking, it could be somebody in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Malaysia. She may not have seen you for 12 years, but on your birthday, you're going to get a birthday card.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge. I just had a conversation on one of those Twitter spaces and we were talking about people skills. And I said, it's great to have automation. It's great to have sales clicks and funnels and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, real money is made offline. And you have to be able to have people skills so that people understand to put your name in the hat, right? When people are making the choices, they got to know you and like you. And I think we don't do enough of that messaging, right? In terms of people skills. So that's why I asked that question. Rapid fire round. I give you a word, you tell me a phrase and or answer that comes to mind when I speak this word. Are you ready?
Okay.
First word is intentions.
They mean everything.
Second word is ego.
Check it.
I love it.
Check it.
Oh, man.
And if you're driven by it, it's not going to end well.
Ooh, say more.
Yes. I had a conversation we have just last night about this. I'm not going to get into politics, but I am somewhat. Yeah. There is someone running for mayor right now in the city that I live in. And in the depths of my soul, I believe the reason why this person is running is because they think they can win and they want to win. And it's completely ego driven. And even though this person may have had some successes in the past, I know in my soul that it will not end well because that's what's driving. So you talk about intentions. If you bring intention, the intention is ego driven together, that results in destruction.
You are the first person in 100 episodes to be able to put the rapid fire around and connect words. Because I do it every time. Every time the words all intersect, but everybody takes them as one-off words, right? So kudos. This is why everybody said you have to have Kailee on the show. The next word is focus.
It takes intention.
Absolutely.
It takes intention, and it can be hard if your heart, soul, and centering are not in the right place.
The next word is vision. What does vision mean to you?
Vision to me means opening yourself up to the possibilities that exist, for those possibilities to be revealed to you.
Authenticity.
The truth.
Do you feel like it's hard for people to, especially again, walking that fine line between HR and running a business, or even HR and being the mom and the super parent? Do you feel like it's hard to identify authenticity?
Sometimes. I think those who are right within their spirit are able to see others for who they are more easily.
That is so strong. That is so strong. Talk to me about the Beyond community and what potential new members can expect.
Yeah, the Beyond community has grown to be what I consider to be an oasis for growth and flourishing for women. We have about 60 women of color who are all purpose-driven from various parts of the country, who are a part of it. The U.S., since I know this is a global audience, right now we're all U.S. based.
Yes.
And I would say the common thread and what people who join the community can look to get from it are, one, these women are purpose-driven. They know they're here for something bigger than themselves. Two, they are high achievers. They are high achievers in their life and in their work. So they want to become, they're motivated to become their best selves. And what we offer is a lot of personal development, professional development, soul-centered, what we call growth work. So we have work that we do together, accountability, and support. We are, and I was going to say the women, but no, it's us. We together support each other. We lift each other up as we're climbing. And we also give we give tough love too. So if somebody said, well, I'm working on my manuscript and I'm trying to be done by October, then people are in the community like, okay, it's October 27th. How's that coming along? Is it finished yet? What do you need, girl? Do we need to have a session? So that is what this community is about.
So we're gonna uplift you and step on your toes. That's
right.
I love it. Last question, again, and thank you so much for your time. What's your favorite part of the business, and are you happy in that space?
Oh, it's like picking a part of my baby.
Well, the reason I asked,
what's my favorite?
The reason I asked really quick before you answer is a lot of us have a favorite part of the business. Like for instance, I love having conversations and facilitating and hosting and all that. I hate admin work, right? But I'm really good at the admin work. I'm really, really good at the creating the letters and creating the follow-up and all that stuff, but I hate it. So that's my question.
Oh, I see. So I would say part of my my favorite part of the business, it's not even like a line of business, but when I am able to create spaces, I think something that I'm good at and I really get a lot out of is creating spaces for people to connect with themselves and other people. And to create the right container for growth and development to take place, and seeing those aha moments happen. Oh, I just love that. And I live for that. So that's my favorite part. And I am so happy doing that, which is why I believe that format shows up in different aspects of the business, whether I'm working in corporate or I'm working in the Beyond community, for instance.
Gotcha. What is next for Kailee Carr, and where can everybody find you online?
Sure. What's next for me? I'm working on, I just finished a book proposal. So we are shopping that around to publishers right now. Also working on a TV show pitch that we will be shopping around next year. So really excited about what 2022 has to offer. And people can find me on all the socials at Kailee Carr. And I have a lot of vowels in my name. So I'll spell it. So it's KAILEICARR.
Absolutely phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been rocking with the great one, Mrs. Kailee Carr, and myself, Chuck Hawkins, here at the Hawk Vision Podcast. We've been talking about business, managing your corporate America walk, as well as your entrepreneurship walk and being your authentic self, mindset, and more. I hope this interview was informative. I hope we added a smile to your day, but most importantly, we hope we've helped you shorten the learning curve on your journey to success. Buy your boy some coffee. I'm out, as you can see. Like, share, and subscribe across all your platforms. Send in your messages, your guest suggestions. Can't continue to grow the show without you, my visionaries. I'm always appreciative of your time. And you know how it goes. There's absolutely no miracle that will ever happen without someone doing something. We'll see you either at the top or from the top. The choice is yours. Miss Kailee Carr, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chuck.